the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your next order. It is Monday, April 19th in the year 2021. And going into the weekend, I expected the only news that came out of Ohio State was to be about the football team regarding the spring game. But not so fast, my friends. I was surprised. Maybe you were surprised. We got some news from the basketball team as well. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at JStevens07. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter as well at Locked On Buckeye. Lined up for today in segment 2. We're talking about what players stood out from their play during Saturday's spring game. Segment 3, going to talk about the basketball news. A couple things that came out over the weekend. But we begin today's show talking about the spring game and just providing an initial reaction to what we watched and witnessed. It was so nice to see Ohio State playing in the shoe once again. Let's go a little bit further. It was so nice to have Ohio State playing in the shoe with a little bit over 19,000 fans there. One more time. It was so I could go all day with this. It was so nice to see the youngsters stepping up and just really playing football, the game that they love. You could talk about Jack Sawyer. You could talk about Emeka Egbuka. Talk about Trevion Henderson. You could talk about, Marvin Harrison Jr. You could talk about Ronnie Hickman. You could talk about Lathan Ransom. You could talk about CJ Stroud. There are so many players you could talk about and say, man, it was nice to see football. See them play. See the youngsters. See what they're doing. Side note, we'll talk about what went good, what we can improve upon, what the Buckeyes can improve upon throughout the week. Because trust me, there is so much to take away from Saturday's spring game. We can't talk about it in just one day's show. It was fun. A lot of fun. I was curious, will they come out in a 4-3? Or will they come out in the 4-2-5 with the bullet/star? I've called it a rover position. A lot of people have called it a robber position. We could really just call it the Troy P position or Troy Polamalu. I understand. I do understand. Many of you are Browns or Bengals fans, and you guys literally despise the Pittsburgh Steelers. And hearing the name Troy P or Troy Polamalu really just brings up bad memories from when Troy Polamalu used to haunt the Browns or Bengals on the football field. I understand it, but that's for some reason the first thing that came into my mind. Could have gone Ed Reed, would have the same effect. Could have gone so many other people, but Troy Polamalu is that guy. When I think about somebody that just roams the field, that's Troy Polamalu. In that position there, the bullet or the star, which is going to be a hybrid linebacker/safety position, it's going to be so versatile and utilized properly in something Ohio State should have done years ago. I am excited to see them moving in that direction right now. On offense, you can look at CJ Stroud, you can look at Jack Miller, you can look at Kyle McCord and break down the play of them. But it might not remind you one thing. This is a practice. It's also April. The game was played April 17th. The first game of the season, week 1, or whatever week of the college football season it is. One year they had week 0. Can we just stop with this? Just call it week 1. Week 0 is not a week. It's just y'all trying to make something up. It's week 1, week 2, week 3, week 0. No, don't do that. Don't do that. You're confusing everybody. Whatever that week is in the college football, the grand scheme of things, Ohio State, September 2nd, Minnesota Golden Gophers, I'm excited for it. Excited to watch that play, but there's a lot of time between now and then. And I'll reiterate something Ryan Day said before the game to Joshua Perry, who was his sideline reporter on Saturday. Ryan Day said the quarterback position, or we're not going to get any answers today or make any concrete decision on who the starting QB will be at the Ohio State University. Not word for word what he said, but the same thought and same sentiment, and I am right there with him. You don't get answers in April. April 17th. Imagine Ryan Day saying, no, we know who our starter is going to be. You and I might have a suggestion about who the starter will be. I'll tell you more about who I think the starter will be coming up tomorrow when we talk about the quarterback position specifically, and then some more defensive things throughout the rest of the week. It was nice seeing them out there. It was really nice just seeing football again. I went from Ohio State spring game to Alabama spring game. Why? Because I wanted to watch football. I hadn't watched football like that from one game to the next since December, January time during bowl season. You can't do that now. Yes, I know there's baseball on. Yes, I know the Reds are doing okay. Yes, I know the Indians actually beat the Reds just a couple days ago. So a lot of you will be happy. Indians over Reds. A lot of you are really happy right now. But I understand there's baseball on. I understand there's NCAA volleyball tournament that's on, which I'm really surprised they're playing on the sport court, as they call it, during the regional semifinal. I thought that was only for the first and second round games. Looks really weird to see the women playing on that surface, not in a regular gymnasium during this tournament. Not trying to prolong it, but Ohio State's playing Florida while I'm recording this show, so that's why that thought entered my head. But it was nice to see them play. Go to the defense, go to the offense. A lot of you will focus on Jack Sawyer and what he did. A lot of you will focus on other players. We'll talk about some of the players I thought played well, who stood out. Not all of them. We don't have time to talk about all of them. But 3 or 4, we got enough time for that. You want to know who I thought stuck out? Stick around to find out. But first, check this out. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. Football might be over, but NBA, college basketball, and even the NHL are in full swing. BetOnline even covers awards, TV shows, and reality TV. Real-time updated odds and props on almost anything you can imagine. BetOnline has you covered for all the news, scores, and odds. It's the best way to place your bets. And guys, it's even free to sign up. Head to betonline.ag on your computer or mobile device. And when you sign up today, make sure you use promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Once again, go to betonline.ag on your computer or mobile device. And when you sign up today, make sure you use promo code LOCKEDON and receive your 50% welcome bonus. BetOnline, your online sports book experts. The Locked On Podcast Network is covering the NFL Draft from all angles. Catch up on the Ultimate Mock Draft 2021 podcast presented by Odyssey. Follow Locked On NFL Draft and the Draft Dudes podcast for the latest draft news. And stay tuned for more info about our live day one draft coverage. If this is your first time listening or watching Locked On Buckeyes, I want to say welcome. Or if it's your first time in a long time watching or listening to the podcast, I want to say welcome back. And if you haven't heard, Locked On Buckeyes has a YouTube channel devoted to every video that is here on this show. If there's an audio version of the show, there's a video version of it as well. Go to YouTube. Search Locked On Buckeyes, subscribe, and watch every single video. You get it once a day. There's enough time. These episodes are so short. You can watch a video and listen to the audio and double dip to get all the news, stay up to date on the Ohio State Buckeyes. You know, if you hear something once, you hear it once. And if you hear something twice, you're liable to hear something the second time that you didn't hear the first. That spring game. Did I remind you, did I say at all that it was fun to watch? Did I at all say that the spring game was something that I thoroughly enjoyed? Did I mention the name Jack Sawyer to you? Did I mention how I really liked watching the youngster bull rush, rip, spin move, whatever the move it was, get to the quarterback? Did I tell you how much I really like that? Did I tell you how much I think he'll be a really good piece at Ohio State? Now, I'm not a person And we'll talk about this on Friday on Jay's Rant of the Week, Jay's Weekly Rant. Talk about this Friday. I think the rant will wait till Friday, not till another time. But I am not a person that's going to come out here and say, before you play your first game in college or the pros, that you're going to be a Hall of Famer, you're going to be a first-round pick. I'm not saying any of that. To me, that's foolish. But what I can say about Jack Sawyer is there's a lot of good signs there that he can be a good football player once the season starts. Will he be a starter this year? I don't know. Will he be a starter next year? Probably. I'm not the coach. I'm not making those decisions. But what I can say and what we saw from him, that man does not just have one move. He doesn't just have two moves. He also has only one goal: get to the quarterback. How he does that? That's up to him. He determines that at the snap of the ball or pre-snap. The pre-snap read, post-snap verification, pre-snap, post-snap, all those things that go. We talk about it with the quarterback. What the quarterback sees pre-snap, also that goes into what he sees post-snap as well, and what the post-snap happens if there's no post-snap verification about what he thought he saw pre-snap and post-snap, that can ultimately alter what happens to him. Well, Jack Sawyer, I'm excited to see him play football at Ohio State, and I'm really excited to see him terrorize football players, left tackles, right tackles in college football as well. One thing I would remind you about Jack Sawyer and really any other D lineman, O lineman, they're not going up against the starters. Because as you know, there were starters missing on the O-line, there were starters missing on the D-line, so you're not going up against the ones. Most of the time he was killing, he wasn't going up against the starting tackle on his side. Let's just be honest now. This is also a practice, and Jack Sawyer knows he could go a little bit harder because the tackle knows, well, he can't tackle my quarterback, but I got to block him still a little bit. So there's some give and take. Some give and take there. Be quiet, Siri. There's some give and take there, but Jack Sawyer was not going up against starting tackles. So I do understand you guys. Yes, the numbers. Oh, 3 sacks, a strip sack. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's amazing. But he wasn't going up against starters. So let's keep it in perspective. Also, keeping it in perspective, can we talk about how nice it's going to be to watch Emeka Egbuka and Marvin Harrison Jr. catch the football from whoever? It don't matter who it is. And I know Harrison Jr. has a connection and has a history with Kyle McCord going back to their days at St. Joe's Prep in Pennsylvania and how they played together, won state championships. Harrison Jr. broke records. I mean, his numbers are crazy. So are Kyle McCord's. I get it. I understand it. I know what that means, what they bring to Ohio State. But it don't matter who's throwing the ball to those two young men. Their routes are going to be good. A little crispy. Crispy's good. Not crispy bad. Crispy good. Real good. Got the hands to go along with the crispy routes as well. I'm excited for those two young men. On the other side of the ball, not when defense first, I'm back to offense with two. On the other side of the ball, let me just say, Ryan Watts is a big corner. 6'3", 203-pound cornerback. My goodness. Now, I got to say, that the interception that he caught on, I think the receiver was Garrett Wilson. I think the quarterback was Jack Miller. Quarterback, talk more about that situation, first drive tomorrow. But Watts, man, good position, turned the hips, saw the ball, caught it at its highest point, almost the way you coach it up. Very excited to see. Now, I'm not saying he's going to start right away or he's going to start this year, but first drive opening up the spring game with that kind of play and with the presence of mind to not go out of bounds, to get upfield and to attempt to run the ball back, knowing it's not going to happen. One touch, you're down. I really like that. Also, I'll close out with this and spend a little bit more time talking about this very detail. Think back to the beginning of last season. Think back to the beginning of before the season in fall camp when you saw pictures and videos from practice. What did you see? The size of the Buckeye players. They're football players, yes. But their size that they put out on the field, size-wise, it didn't seem like they were the ideal size for football. Now, I'm not saying they weren't small, not at all. But for size-wise, muscles-wise, as far as health, it didn't seem like they were up to par for the typical Ohio State football player. And Ryan Day mentioned last year when the players came back onto campus, mentioned a couple things that happened as soon as they came back on campus after being sent away at the beginning of the summer. He mentioned that they got haircuts. It was actually three things. I remember all three of them right now. So the players got haircuts. Because, when you shut down a barbershop, or if you're like not mentally happy, like you might not get your haircut. My beard right now, it's not bad. I mean, I haven't had a haircut in a couple weeks. My beard's not bad. The hair on top, woo-hoo, that's a different story. The hair's not bad either. Nah, I just like wearing hats. If you guys are watching right now via YouTube. But he said the players got haircuts. Number 2, he said the players started smiling again. Number 3, the players started gaining weight. They started to fill out and they started to get healthy. Well, right now in from April 17th, from what we saw, the players looked healthy. They look sturdy. They look strong. They look like the off-season program that was not implemented the proper way last year because you started and you stop and you got to modify because you got to do home workouts. Not everybody has access to weights. Not everybody has access to the outside facilities to run around maybe a track or whatever it is that's needed to fulfill the at-home workouts. Some people might not be able to get workout bands. So I get all of that. But if you saw the football on Saturday, one part of the reason that Watts looks so big is because the off-season workout program is working and helping him fill out his body. Also, I already go back to last year. If you guys don't believe me, go back to last year. Look at the size of the receivers and the running backs. Teeth don't count. Mayan Williams lost 15 pounds. So I mean, Williams needs to lose weight. Teague just already like the brother just does push us for breakfast, man. I mean, it's just a part. It's in his blood. But these players look healthy. They look strong. They look sturdy. They look like football players that are at their regular football weight. Exciting to see it. I'm sure you probably saw it. There are other things that you saw that maybe I did not list today. Tweet at me, message me. Some of you do that consistently. I appreciate it. Some of you have done it before. Tweet at me at JStevens07. Those of you watching via YouTube, you see right there my Twitter handle right there with WKYC Cleveland in the top corner as well. One more time, got to step away very quickly. When we come back, there was some news that came out of the basketball program. What was it? How big was it? Was it big at all? We'll talk about that when we come back. But first, check this out. There's a good chance you're a person like me that loves a good protein bar. I mean, sometimes you need a little pick-me-up. Something to help you get from where you currently are to the next stage. You want something that fits your macros and fits the macros for your diet and tastes like a candy bar as well. Well, guys, I've ended my search and I thoroughly encourage you to end yours as well because Built Bar is great for the health-conscious guy. It'll help you lose and maintain weight while indulging in a delicious treat. Bars are low calorie, low sugar, high protein, high fiber, and they're also great for the keto diet. And one unique detail about Built Bars is that they are covered in 100% chocolate. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15, LOCKED15, and you will get 15% off your next order. Once again, go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCKED15, and you will get 15% off your next order at BuiltBar.com. Today, through the 26th, listen to the Ultimate Mock Draft 2021 presented by Locked On and Odyssey, featuring analysis from NFL experts Michael Irvin, Jason LaCanfora, and Brian Baldinger. Our local experts for every team making trades and picking the next stars of their team. Search the Ultimate Mock Draft 2021 on the new Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts. Odyssey is your audio home for all the sports, podcasts, music, and news that matter to you. That's AUDACY. And before we wrap up today's episode of Locked On Buckeyes, I want to just give you a little insight to something that happened yesterday. I had the privilege of going on the Jeff Nee Sports podcast, kind of a knee-jerk reaction or analysis from the Ohio State spring game on Saturday. He has his Buckeyes remix. Jeff Hunt and then also Mo Murphy of the Off the Ball Network. I was on that show with them on Sunday. A fun time. We go pretty deep and get into some of the conversations we had, just going back and forth as far as what we saw, what we witnessed, what needs to be worked on, who QB1 is. We'll talk about QB1 on the show tomorrow, but you'll get to hear some other people's thoughts on QB1, Buckeye people that talk about the Buckeyes throughout the season. Just search Jeff Needs Sports, or if you need to find a link, just tweet at me. I will share that with you. Basketball. It ain't basketball season, but there's basketball news coming out, and I'm sure you might love it because Kyle Young is coming back, or he ain't going nowhere. It was kind of expected. I was kind of expecting this news that Kyle Young would stay in school. I don't see him as a professional basketball player, not the NBA, not in the G League, and not overseas either. Maybe a league over there might be there for him, but I don't see Kyle Young as a professional basketball player. Not a bad thing. Not every athlete, not every person that plays college basketball, D1 basketball, D2, D3, NAIA, or JUCO is going to play pro someday in any sport. It may not be basketball. They're not going to tennis, hockey. Probably not going to happen. So I understand it makes sense for him to come back. His scholarship does not count against the count of scholarships, the number of scholarships that Ohio State can have this year due to him being a super senior. Kyle Young, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but for EJ Liddell to come back, I know one of the deciding factors or determining factors what's going to be, well, I haven't talked to him, it's just my guess, is who's going to be in the front court with him. Will it be Kyle Young, a guy that he knows how to play off of and play with? Will it be a transfer who maybe they'll work together? Maybe they will not gel together. Will it be the NBA feedback that he gets? A lot of details go into that. But I know with Kyle Young coming back, I know I saw maybe Adam Jardy or Colin Haas-Hill of 11 Warriors. He already put out that EJ Liddell was basically on the roster already for next year, and I tweeted at him and said I didn't think that EJ Liddell confirmed that he's coming back to school. I think that tweet got deleted, his initial tweet. So my tweet just hanging up there in the middle of nowhere. But I don't think EJ Liddell has already confirmed that he's coming back in school. I do not believe so. But if EJ Liddell does come back in school, it's nice to have his running mate, somebody he knows how to work with in the front court, back there with him. It'll be Liddell, possibly. Now, for sure, Sewing and for sure, Young. Possibly Liddell, and then Wheeler and Junior in the backcourt. That's not bad. It's not bad. Not bad at all. Get some maturity, a little better defense in the backcourt. I kind of like it. But that wasn't the only news that came out over the weekend. This will go into a little bit more throughout the week. But Joey Brunk, the former Butler Bulldog that transferred to Indiana University, did not play. Joey Brunk, a guy that Chris Holtmann has been recruiting from what I've read for about a decade. I know it goes back into the about 2015, 2014, maybe 2013 now that Chris Holtmann has been recruiting Joey Brunk. Joey Brunk did play under Holtmann at Butler for 1 year, his freshman year, and then Holtmann left to go to Ohio State. And that relationship that they got and that was put together at that time early on in Joey Brunk's high school days there at Southport High School in Indianapolis, Indiana. Joey Brunk said, hey, man, I'm transferring from Indiana, and I want to go play with Chris Holtmann one more time. I know many of you are thinking you're going to get Efton Reed. Chet Holmgren's supposed to announce his decision today. I don't think Chet Holmgren was ever thinking about considered Ohio State, but I do think he was Gonzaga all the way. If you look at 24/7 Sports and the crystal ball prediction that they have, a lot of sevens. I think there was 1-8. I don't know the names of those that are predictors, but everybody believes he's going to Gonzaga. Think about it. Chet Holmgren, if you don't know who he is, look up some film on him via the YouTube. You will see how good this 7-footer is. He is thin. I was not going to lie. He is thin. You got to put on some weight. 7 foot, I think it's 7 foot 190, what I read. That's thin. That's thin, baby. That is thin. But Chet Holmgren out there, Drew Timme out there, because I don't believe Drew Timme is ready for the league. I didn't think Drew Timme was ready for the league before the national championship, but that just confirmed what I already believed about Drew Timme. Good in college. Not sure if he's going to be a pro. Right now, I saw he's projected to be a second-round pick, middle to latter part of the NBA draft. One more year, maybe two. I don't know if Drew Timme's going to be a pro. I really don't. And like I told you before, being a pro, not everybody's going to be a pro. You can be good in college and not good in the pros. That may be the situation for Drew Timme. Go back to the early 1990s. Christian Laettner, great in college. What did he do in the NBA? You can answer that question for yourself. I'm sure you're smart enough to know what he did or did not do in the National Basketball Association. Kyle Young, staying in school. Joey Brunk transferring from Indiana University to Ohio State. An Indiana guy that I thought was going to stay in Indiana his entire collegiate career, but the connection he made with Chris Holtmann may have been the deciding factor as far as why Joey Brunk transferred from Indiana to Butler. You know what's really not fun when I mentioned that Walker Kessler would be the kind of big man that I wish Ohio State would have gotten, and then literally, I think the day I said that, or the very next day, Walker Kessler committed to another school. I'm like, look, great. The one option, he's a youngster. Yeah, he was a freshman. You could get it for 1, maybe 2 years. Would be a whole lot better than getting a stopgap or a 1-year fix. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. There is a chance. I don't think Efton Reed is still an option with the roster spots and college scholarships still being full. That's something I'll have to go back and count again before ruling Efton Reed out. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching another episode of Locked on Buckeyes. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jsteven07. And also one more reminder. YouTube, subscribe to the Locked on Buckeyes YouTube channel. There'll be sometimes that there will be interviews that do not take up the entire space of that day's episode. That will stand alone and also be a part of that day's episode as well. The show is growing, more ways for you to consume it, and I encourage you, tell a friend, because this is a great place not for you to stay up to date on the Ohio State Buckeyes, but also for one of your friends to stay up with the Ohio State Buckeyes as well.